All right, well, welcome to the financial workshop today. Today's topic is entitled what?
How to get out of debt with somebody else's money.
Yeah, 5 ways to get out of debt without using your own money. Now, my wife said, don't teach that. That's a clickbait title. I said, it is clickbait. It gets people to show up. You know, I said, but we learned so much, but I'll start with the 5 things so everybody gets their money's worth. And so anyway, but I do want you to know that I do have something to share with you. It's very important, and I think you'll learn from it and be able to apply it, if not in your life, in someone else's life. And I just wanted to start by introducing myself to say, my name's Arabian Morgan. I'm a certified public accountant. I'm here because the church allows me to do the financial workshops here on occasion. And I just want to let you know, I have nothing to sell you. So at the end of this workshop, don't brace yourself for some big sales pitch or something like that. I have absolutely nothing to sell you. I don't have any books to sell you. I don't have any other things to sell you at all, okay? This is just pure information that you can apply in your own life. So now that that's out the way, let's get back to it. 5 ways to get out of debt without using your own money. Now, I'm really going to give you 7 ways, but the other 2 at the end, you know, that's going to be something that comes out of your pocket, right? Okay. All right. And some of these may not apply to you. I have one method that will apply for everyone, but you may not like it. But some of these are for different types of people with different types of debt at different stages in their life. So I'm just going to start with the very first one. And I want you to feel comfortable sharing this with other people, okay? Because you might know someone. All right, now here we go. Now remember, my wife did not want me to do it this way, but I decided to. Because I think from each of the 5 things that I want to list out that got you to come here, I think we can learn a lot from it. So the first one I want to talk about is student loans. How to get rid of student loans without using your own money. And it is possible. It takes time though, all right? Now, what I'm referring to really are federal student loans. I don't really have anything special for private student loans, but if you have a federal student loan, there are ways to get out of those student loans without having to pay all of it back. But I do want to start by saying on this topic that if you're a parent, and if you're listening to this later on or whatnot, but if you're a parent, you cannot stop being a parent when your child says they want to go to college. You cannot stop being a parent, meaning you've got to direct them, you've got to parent them into going to the right college. They have no idea what they're signing up for, saying, I want to go to USC. And let's say they get accepted, but they haven't really planned for it financially, and meaning they didn't go around looking for scholarships and things like that. So they just think, well, I'm just going to go ahead and go $200,000 into debt. You know, but I want to go to USC. A parent will say, no, you're not. They can't comprehend what it means to go into that sort of debt at that age. So I just wanted to take a moment just to say, don't stop being a parent. Perhaps community college is best just to get started. I mean, now I went to USC, okay, which is why I just used them in the example. I know how much it costs. But I worked my butt off to get all those scholarships. I mean, I graduated with student loan debt because I decided to spend an extra year in grad school there, but for undergrad, I didn't pay for anything. But I did have to work to get all the scholarships and grants that I got. I spent time, and this was before the internet as we know it, so I spent time reading through books. I went to Barnes & Noble, got a bunch of books on scholarships and stuff like that. So if your child is willing to work for it, great. But don't let them just sign up for a bunch of student loans. We've got a wonderful community college system here in California to get you started with the first 2 years of college, transfer to a Cal State program or a UC program. Make them live at home. Tell them to live at home. You don't have to go into serious debt over college. And I always tell people that, you know, we sit down and we talk one-on-one. I like to tell people you don't want to borrow more money for your education than you can earn in 1 year on the job you think you're going to have. So pick whatever career you want, find out how much it pays the very first year. You should not go into more student debt than that. Now, that's just my personal opinion, but I think it's a pretty good rule to go by, all right? But don't stop parenting. So when it comes to getting rid of the student loans you might already have, if you have federal-based student loans, there's a few different things here. One is called an income-based repayment. Income-based repayment, which basically says that you get to pay based on how much money you earn. They take a certain percentage of how much you earn. That's what you repay. And after 25 years of on-time payments, whatever's left goes away. That wasn't your money. It just disappeared. But you got to wait 25 years. That's the income-based repayment. All right. So if you want to know more about income-based repayment, the website is ibrinfo.gov. IBR stands for income-based repayment, info.gov. All right. There's another one called Pay As You Earn. This, if you sign up for this particular program, Pay As You Earn, I mean, again, this is for federal student loans, not private student loans, which is why you should never take out a private student loan. This will cap your monthly payments at 10% of your income. It's like you're tithing. Okay, so yeah, you don't have to pay any more than 10% of your income in repaying your loans if you're part of this, what's called Pay As You Earn program. And after 20 years, not 25, after 20 years of on-time payments, your debt is wiped clean. So those first two options in there in the student loan category basically said, you know, if you're willing to wait after 20 or 25 years, we'll take care of the rest. But that's not your money, so I'm fulfilling my 5 ways to get out of debt without using your own money here. But how about 10 years? You like that better? Okay, here's a 10-year plan. There's something that's now for that Pay As You Earn, that website is, just go to studentloans.gov, studentloans.gov. You can learn more about that there. All right, there's also a public service loan forgiveness option. So basically, if you go into a public service type of job, after 10 years of on-time payments, they'll wipe out your federal student loan debt. So this is, you know, whether you're working for the government or military service, maybe emergency management, public safety, law enforcement, social work, public libraries, sciences, things like that. Certain employees at nonprofit groups. If you go to the website, or I think you can go to studentloans.gov for this as well, you will see some additional information on how you fit into that category. But after 10 years, it's wiped out. And that might mean you become a teacher in an area that people don't want to go teach in also. Okay, but after 10 years, so that's better than the other two. And then the one that a lot of people don't like, but I think it works. It doesn't, I'll just say Californians don't like this one. But there's something called homesteading. Homesteading, that's a term some of us have heard, maybe we didn't really know what it meant. But if you decide that you want to live and work in a rural area, like a country town, like in Kansas or Niagara Falls or New York, several other communities, in the rural areas, if you'll go and work and live in those areas, every year for 5 years, these areas will pay you between $3,500 and $5,000 every year to repay your student loans. But you got to move. They'll pay between $3,500 and $5,000 for up to 5 years, but you might have to move to go do this, okay? Because they want you to live there, they want you to work there. And if you do a Google search for American Federation of Teachers, that's a teachers union. On their website, they have information really that lets you just drop in the name of whatever state you're currently in, and you can look and see if there's anything around you. I didn't see anything for California, but you know, I did see stuff for Kansas, Niagara Falls, New York, and some other little small towns out there. But you got to move. Okay? And whenever I've suggested to somebody, for whatever the financial situation was, that they move, you know how many people have ever taken me up on that? No, because see, the only reason I'm in California is because my family decided to pursue what they believed was an opportunity somewhere else. Packed up the whole family, loaded us up into the 1982 Nissan Sentra, and we drove to California. I talked to so many other people. Why are you here in California? Oh man, my family, we had to get out of the South. We needed an opportunity. But see, those are older people talking. Today, I can't convince anybody to actually take advantage of something and move. And so I decided not to tell people to move. But I've seen some people move. One guy, he moved to Arizona, just loaded up his family, moved to Arizona, found that's where the jobs were. And after a couple years down there renting, now he owns a home and everything. He's now a manager on his job, but he had to move. Some people said to me in the past, oh, I can't leave my church. Sure you can. I'm just saying. Okay, well, I'll leave that one. Yeah, if I don't get asked back, you'll know why. Okay, so anyway, that's my first option. That gets people with student loans out of their student loans without paying for it. How many people here want to get married? Anybody here looking to get married? Okay, well, this one's for you. My second one. To get out of debt without using your own money. All right, write this down. Marry well. No, see, I'm not laughing at that. No, okay, but look what we learned from this, though. Look what we listen, some of you guys can testify about this. You probably know some people who got married, and they didn't check each other out financially, and one person knew that the other person had a lot of money and didn't share that the other person was in debt or something like that. There's a lot of stories we could tell, right? But before you get married, you should know financially who you're about to marry. On both sides. On both sides. When I got married, my wife had absolutely no debt. She was an idiot. If she was an idiot to marry me, I had a bunch of debt. No, but she knew it going in. She knew it going in. Yeah. So I'm just saying that's a conversation you have to have. But people get married for selfish reasons almost every single time. So why not marry well? You can marry somebody without anything. That works too. But I'm just saying, if you want to get out of debt, this is one way to do it. Like I said, this is a clickbait title. You know, if you're on the internet and they say, oh, guess what this person did with their life, and you click on it. So, you know, that's all. All right, number 3. You guys didn't like number 2. Okay. No, but look what you learned. You need to, especially when, there's been so many times, folks, that I've had people tell me they're getting married, and I knew something about one of them, but it wasn't my place to say anything because it's none of my business. And you just watch them, you know. I can't say they were friends, but, you know, acquaintances. And I'm not about to get in the middle of that. Now, if it was a family member, that might be different, you know, because I don't care if my family member stopped speaking to me because I prevented them from doing something. I don't care about that. But it's more turkey for me on Thanksgiving. But I'm just saying, when it comes to getting married, people really need to know who they're marrying. Pull credit reports, everything. And say, oh, just trust me. Okay. I'm probably one of the few people that will tell you get a prenuptial agreement. All right. We can talk about that? No, okay. Yeah, you need to get an agreement on things before you get married, because after you get married, I'll just say it this way. If you couldn't agree on stuff before you got married, you're not going to agree on stuff after you get married. So, and then you realize how stupid your prenuptial agreement was, because all these other things pop up during marriage, but you're able to get an agreement on them. And I think that's really important to know that you can do that. So, yeah, my wife and I, we tore up our prenuptial agreement. Really, we just threw it away. It wasn't much, you know, but we threw it away. But we've had to get an agreement on a lot of stuff. But we were able to get into agreement on things before we got married. Now, remember, I was in a bunch of debt. She was debt-free, so we didn't have much money to talk about. But there are a lot of other things to talk about. All right, let's go to number 3. All right, not a fun one, but definitely an option. Bankruptcy. Bankruptcy. There's 2 types of bankruptcy. One will get rid of all of your debts with exceptions of student loans, but you got an option for that one already, and paying the tax man. All right? But now, in order so there's 2 different ways to do it. One is just to give you a payment plan to help you reorganize your debts and work on paying people back. That's one way to do it. Another way is to actually have all your debts wiped out, okay, with the exception of student loans and paying the tax man. Here's my big point when it comes to bankruptcy. You need assistance. Don't do it yourself. You need assistance to do it. Because if you make a mistake, you get one shot at this. And you can't blow it. You need help. I've had people, they come to me, hey, help me do the bankruptcy filing. I can't do that. I don't know anything about filing for bankruptcy. I can tell you what I've read in a book or something, but you need a professional to help you. I might be able to advise you to say whether or not I think you should file for bankruptcy. Because some people are like, hey, I just lost my job and they're about to turn off my lights. Should I file for bankruptcy? No. I have a question.
Yes, I actually was at a free legal seminar yesterday where we were counseling. One of the clients who came before me actually filed for bankruptcy as an individual, but she was married. I'm going to try to give you some dates because my confusion in this was she said that the bankruptcy applied to her. My confusion was how did that affect her as a married woman, because legal separation,
Sure.
2013, bankruptcy effective for taxes 2010.
Yeah, so therein lies why you need assistance. Because especially if you're in a community property state, I really don't know how that plays out. Yeah, I don't know how that plays out. But people do that all the time. I had one client just recently, he completed his bankruptcy filings and he did it as an individual in a community property state. And I was like, huh. But he had legal counsel. He didn't ask me about it. He had legal counsel, so I assume they know what they're doing, but you need help filing for bankruptcy. And that's going to cost you some money, so you need to set aside some money for that. Maybe you just borrow some off the credit card before they finally close you. Okay. But no, I'm telling you. But bankruptcy is an option. Okay, number 4. Now this one's not so fun. Actually, number 5 isn't fun, but number 4 is kind of fun after the fact. All right, so number 4, death of a loved one. This is how you pay it off. You get an inheritance from death of a loved one, okay? Now, it is death of one if they didn't leave you nothing, but if it's a loved one, maybe they left you something. So let's talk about inheritances. If you have a spending problem and you get an inheritance, that's going to exacerbate or really bring to light your spending problem if somebody left you a bunch of money. But the smart thing to do, I'll just say it might just be the smart thing to do, is to begin paying off your debts. But you have to know, class, that this is not, none of these things are ideal that I give you. Everything takes some amount of work. Well, in death of a loved one, you didn't have to do nothing. But you got to quit going into more debt. If you can't make up your mind to not go into more debt, none of this works. Talking about death of a loved one, now the person didn't even die, okay? Somebody's aunt recognized that the niece was having some financial difficulties. And so the aunt had some money. She just paid off all this person's debt. I mean, bunch of credit card debt. And I mean, the dollars really don't matter, right? If I said it was like $20,000, that sounds wonderful. If I said $5,000 for that person, if they couldn't do anything, that sounds wonderful too. But this aunt just wiped out this person's debt. And primarily it was credit card debt from her buying stuff. This was even before the internet as we know it today. Home shopping network type stuff. Finger hut type stuff. Can you imagine going into debt, $20,000 in debt over Finger Hut? I don't have to imagine it. I saw it growing up. So anyway, within 3 months, this person had just as much debt as had been wiped out. And it was over $15,000. The person has a spending problem, and if you have someone that steps into your life from out of the blue and wipes out your debt, the worst way to thank them is to get back in debt. If you have to cut off your arms, just stop watching commercials on TV. You got to make a decision, though, not to go into more debt. All right? But that definitely is an option. All right, number 5, and this will pay off the clickbait. All right, number 5. Now, this is not number 4, it's number 5. Number 5 is your death. You wipe out all of your debt by dying, and you didn't have to use any of your money. It's an option. It's an option. But let's see what we learn about this, though. Look what we learn here. Look what we learn here. You need to be mindful of, is it just your debt? Maybe it's your spouse's debt also. So if you die, it's left on your spouse. I had I don't mind telling my business. In my family, I had, my father passed away and left some credit card debt. And so my mother said, well, that's not mine. You know, I never signed up for that stuff. But because we're in a community property state, they wanted to, the credit card company wanted to say, no, it stays with your mother. And, you know, we had to kick that around a little bit. We had to kick it around a little bit to make that go away. But in a community property state, credit card companies, they want to hang on to whatever they can. They will argue with you. Even if they know they're wrong, it's worth a shot for them to go after you, okay? But when you die, the debt that you owe, and I'm not saying if it's attached to somebody else also, okay, because that sticks around. But when you die, your debts disappear, your personal debts, okay? That's taxes. Now, if you left some money behind, tax man can come for that. If you left some money behind, the credit card companies can come for that. A lot of people don't want to file probate, and sometimes you need to file for probate just for your heirs to inherit whatever you had left over. But your creditors first take your stuff. They get paid. All right? Well, that didn't go over too well. But look at this a little bit more. So, let's talk about what happens when you die. Do you have, if somebody's relying on your income and you die, you need to provide something for that person that's relying on your income right now. Now, if your kids are grown, moved out the house, they have their own life, you don't have to provide anything for them. Unless they're living off you right now, then, you know, that's one way to get back at them. But, you know, if you're providing for them, you might need some life insurance to leave them. And I always recommend to people level term life insurance. It's the cheapest option. If you know, so you want to think about those things. What happens if I stop living today? What happens to the people that are currently relying on me? Do I need something in place for them? And I don't want you to go out and get a bunch of whole life annuities or all that sort of stuff. Level term is the cheapest option at any stage in your life. At any stage in your life. If you can fog a mirror, you can get some. Meaning if you're alive. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be cheap, because the older you are, the more expensive it is. The more unhealthy you are, the more expensive it is. But it's just to provide for those people that are still here, that are currently relying on your income. And since we're talking about death, don't bury money with the person who dies. I was at a memorial service a few weeks ago for a friend of mine. And this guy, he was always dripping in gold, you know, rings and necklaces and stuff. And I should have looked, but I didn't. I should have gone over there while the casket was open just to see if they put any of that in that casket with him. Because, see, if it was my relative, I would have taken all that stuff off. I would have wrote him a check, put the check in there for it. No! Don't bury money with people. Don't have expensive memorial services or funeral services either. You're burying money. Now, if you got the money and you absolutely want to go that way, so you pre-plan everything, you go the way you want to go. I'm not knocking it. But if the person who's about to lay in the box, or maybe they're on the gurney still, if you've got to take care of that, if that burden falls on you, she said cardboard box. I was thinking fire and brimstone myself. And if you do want a casket, no, that's cool. If you do want a casket, you're allowed to buy your own casket and bring it to the funeral home. You don't have to buy theirs. Even if they say you do, there's a law. They have to take the casket from you. Go to eBay. Get yourself a casket. You can find a cheap casket that way if you want to go that route. Don't leave it to me because, like I said, it's fire and brimstone with me. And I'll follow your wishes to the extent you leave me some resources to do it. Throw you in the ocean. Okay. After the fire and brimstone. Okay, after the cremation. All right, now let's talk about some other ways to pay off debt. Okay, now those top 5, that was not your money. Now this is your money. All right, number 6, sell off some assets and repay the debt. Maybe you bought an expensive car, and let's say you've been paying on that expensive car for quite a while, and you're in a position now that you could sell that car, take the money left over after you pay off the loan that was on it, and just start wiping out debt. That's one way to do it. Ask yourself, what can you sell? Next week, I have to go to a buddy of mine asked me to help him get rid of the stuff in his storage facility. He's had a storage facility for 2.5 years. He has never been there since the stuff was moved in. And he said, I really need you to help me get rid of this stuff. I said, how much do you think it's all worth? And he said, $3,000. I said, okay, let's try and get rid of it. But just sell your stuff that you're not using. Maybe you should sell stuff on eBay. It's something to do. Because you've got to generate some money to get rid of the debt. So this is just one other option. Okay, it's not. I got a couple more, but this is one other option. What would you be willing to sell to get rid of your debt? And I'm not just talking to you all here in the audience. I'm talking to people that listen to this later. But what are you willing to sell? Let's look at what I did in number 7. My wife and I, we wanted to make sure we had all of our non-real estate debt paid off, okay? And so what we did was the following. We decided to cut back on spending. In every available resource, we decided to apply to the smallest loan balance that we had, which was my girlfriend. I entered our relationship with a girlfriend, and I got married with a girlfriend. Her name was Sally Mae. This was my federal student loans from when I was in grad school. I did not make a concerted effort to wipe out $30,000 in student loan debt. That's how much it cost me to go to grad school at USC. Now remember, undergrad at USC, I worked hard for all that, didn't have any loan debt there. But when I went to graduate school for 1 year, and this was back in '97, so I'm just saying, it was 30 grand back then. Who knows what it is now? So we just made a concerted effort, every available resource. So we stopped, I never had cable when we started this. We drove our car, we never bought new cars. She had a 1998 BMW 328i convertible. And now we got married in 2005. So I'm talking about after 2005. She still has that car. It was paid off, okay? I had a 1998 Toyota Camry in 2005. I didn't buy a new car. We focused on it. Paid off those student loans within 1.5 years, just throwing everything at it, okay? Next came, other little credit card bills or whatever, and some stuff that, I don't know how I got there, but anyway, once that student loan was gone, that was pretty much it for us, okay? Everything else was more real estate related, and the properties would pay for themselves at that point. So I'm just saying, we use this technique I only really had one major bill, the student loans, but perhaps you have more than one. If you start paying more than the minimum payment on the smallest loan balance and watch that disappear, and then take whatever you were paying on that smallest one, apply it to the next one that's small, whatever the next smallest is, and start applying it to that bill. Now, all along, you're making minimum monthly payments on all your other debts. This is called the debt snowball technique. It's been around a long time. It's been around a long time. I remember actually, and this is shame on me, I remember teaching a class in 1993 on the debt snowball technique. And I didn't apply it to my own life. So at some point, I had to wake up. I mean, I was the guy running around. I had a great paying job. I think I started making $55,000 a year out of college. And for me, that was a whole lot of money. I was the richest man in the world. And just as generous as I don't know what, I'd go hang out with my single friends. We'd go to Caro's and Denny's. We'd be rolling 15 deep. I'm picking up the whole check, not even thinking about it. But you know what? That was really stupid. I should have been focusing that, just wiping out that debt so I didn't have to come here and say, you know, and my wife was stupid for marrying me. I should have been focusing there. But at some point, I had to wake up to that. If I had the chance to do it all over again, that's what I would have done. But anyway. But you want to use this debt snowball technique. If you want to see it in action, you can actually just look up on the internet, you know, debt snowball, and everything you see there, most of it is true in how you approach it. But I always say take the smallest balance first and get rid of it, because you'll begin to see momentum in your life, and you'll be encouraging yourself to see something disappear. Now, how do you come up with the extra money to apply more payments? Maybe you go get another job. When my wife and I started working on this, now I'm not making fun of anybody, okay? But I used to think, based on what I thought about Jamaicans, I thought I was Jamaican, because I had 5 jobs. No, I had 5 jobs. I would wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. At 5:30 in the morning, my wife would come into the bedroom with my breakfast, because she had gotten up at 4:30 to make my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was out of the house by 6:15 a.m. I didn't come back home till 10 p.m. Did that for a whole year. And I'm telling you what I did with the money. Paying off the student. So maybe you want an extra job. If you've got time to watch TV, you've got time to do something else. No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And you tell this to somebody else, okay? One of my friends, she was telling me how she was helping her son financially. I said, okay. And she called and said, I need a handyman to help me around the house, move some stuff out the garage and everything. I said, call your son. You're helping him financially. Call your son. Okay? So anyway, put people to work. I don't care if you got to go throw boxes at UPS. Maybe you become a Uber or a Lyft driver or whatever the other services are. You just need some extra income, and you just throw it all at that debt. So, yeah, I hated working all those jobs. I hated leaving the house at 6:15 in the morning. And I drove towards the sun rising. Bought myself a pair of shades. But I did it. At night, because I was coming home at 10 at night, there was no sun. All right. So those are my top 7. But let me give you, I have a question here. Talk to me.
So what would be more advantageous as far as credit card debt? So hypothetically, say you have 2 credit cards, right? So one, you're below the full balance, is not fully maxed out. And say another one is maxed out and you're above it, right? So you have one that's not fully maxed out and one that's maxed out. And you're paying, you actually have more on it than the actual credit card amount, right? So what would be more advantageous? Say you came into some money, okay, right? Would it be more advantageous to pay off the amount to get you in the credit card balance and not out of it? Like say your credit card was like $1,000 and you have like $1,500 on there. So would it be more advantageous to pay the $500 to put you back in, or would it be advantageous to pay the $500 to eliminate a credit card?
If your goal is to get out of debt, pay off the smallest one first. Now, I'm assuming that you can make the minimum monthly payments on both.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come into some money right away, if your goal is to get out of credit card debt, or to get, see, we're talking about credit card debt, but I'm grouping all your debts together.
Right.
So if you've got, a bill left over from, your last car that you got rid of and you still owed money on it, I'm grouping all that in. Whatever the smallest one is, just to see it disappear, that's where you put it.
Okay.
That's where you put the money. And again, for everybody, your goal is, if your goal is to get out of debt, you're not supposed to be creating new debt. I'm not even talking about refinancing and moving money from one card to another. I'm not talking about that. I'm telling you, quit using the credit cards. Adjust your lifestyle. Adjust your lifestyle. Talk to me.
Can you use one credit card to pay off or make payments on another credit card?
That's called robbing Peter to pay Paul. No, and that's what we say that is. And it's really about, now, I can name several companies and governments that do that. In order to pay off their debt, they borrow more money. And that's all that is. That's not paying off debt. You've got to get in a position to be able to make the minimum monthly payments on all your debt, and then find some way to get more to throw it onto the smallest debt. That's what I'm saying. Okay? One of the things I found helpful, in the Bible where it says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, other things come by hearing. You can get faith for just about anything by hearing it. And so one of the things that I do, I still do to this day, I try to get faith for different things that I'm interested in. And so I take the time and I listen to, or I watch, or I read about topics I'm really interested in. So for example, since February this year, I have been interested in learning more about doing household electrical work. Because up till February in my life, my wife took care of all the electrical work, okay? Because, that stuff will kill you, so I let her do it. I handled the plumbing, but no. I took out a life insurance policy on her. But she's tough. No, but I wanted to learn to do the electrical work. So what I began doing was, to get faith for it, to learn about it, I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos of people explaining to me how to do stuff concerning the electrical work around the house. And guess what? From February till maybe 2 months ago, okay, I began my first project because I got this. I can do this. And I went out and bought some stuff. I wanted to hang up some outdoor lights. I got about halfway through. I'm like, my wiring doesn't look anything like that in the videos. I called the electrician out. But what did I do? I went back to watching more videos, reading more books and literature on how to do the household electrical work. And this weekend, Friday, I pulled out the big ladder. I changed out the fluorescent light bulbs in the kitchen to the new LEDs, and I did a bypass of a ballast. I bought myself a real expensive wire cutter because it was nice and easy and I didn't have to think about it too much. It cost me $30. But I did it. And I ran upstairs. I told my wife, I said, come look, I did it. I started it and I finished it. And so I got about like 10 more to do, but I got that now. But I got faith for that. But you can do the same thing with debt. By listening to other people talk about how they got out of debt, or how they prevented themselves from going more into debt, or just hearing them celebrate their testimony of not having any more debt. You can give yourself faith for this. So I'm going to recommend, now this is my recommendation. I really like Dave Ramsey when it comes to getting out of debt. So one of the things that I do so I don't go into debt, I try to stay out of debt now, and I do my best with it. I all the time, I don't have opportunity to listen to the radio too much, but in my free time, I watch YouTube videos or listen to podcasts from Dave Ramsey on just whatever he's talking about, because he's always being encouraging and telling you how to get out of debt, how not to go into debt, and I have a faith for that now. Now, some people ask me, do you agree with everything Dave Ramsey says? I don't agree with everything my wife says, let alone a man I've never met. But you know what? When you watch enough things, like faith comes by hearing. When you turn on the radio or on the TV and you hear somebody talking about how to be a better Christian or live a Christian lifestyle, because of what you know already and have faith for, you know when something's not right. And you just turn it off. I do the same with Dave Ramsey. So no, I don't agree with everything he says, but when it comes to getting out of debt, I agree with him wholeheartedly. I really do. Not very many people are willing to attack their finances with getting out of debt in mind. I mean, really, you sell everything to repay your debt. Or maybe that's too drastic. How about before you buy groceries, you eat all the food in your house before you go buy groceries? Okay? I don't even, now listen, I'm not hurting financially. I take my lunch and dinner to work every day. Now, I said it that way because you did not hear me say, I make my lunch and dinner every day and take it to work. No, I take it to work. My wife makes my lunch and dinner, okay? That's her, okay? But people are like, let's go out to lunch. I have this nice little igloo cooler looking thing, soft cover. Okay, where do you want to go? Grab my igloo cooler. Let's go. I like watching my Dave Ramsey YouTube videos while I eat, so, you know, I really don't want to go to lunch anyway or dinner. But I'm just saying, for the past 12 years or so, I take my lunch and stuff to work. $5 a day adds up, and I think that's when I left off, okay? It was $5 a day, okay? And, but that's $2,500 a year. I did the math already, okay? That's $2,500 a year. I used to spend $5 a day buying orange juice, and this was before Starbucks. Bought orange juice and a croissant every morning from the little coffee cart down in the front of my building. Once I realized, I decided to do the math. That's $2,500 a year for some stinking orange juice. Actually, it was really good, though. It was fresh squeezed. But the croissant did nothing for me. You know, it didn't fill me up or anything. So what did I do? I decided to start buying my own orange juice, and I bought the most expensive orange juice at the time, Tropicana. I would get that because it tastes really good. But it was cheaper than $5 a day for the little glass of it. And that's how I freed up a lot of money. But I went a good 3 years spending $2,500 a year just on orange juice and croissants. I'm not a coffee drinker. Knock yourself out, whatever your drug of choice is, you know. Yeah, just wait till you try to kick that. Okay, now, some people ask me about, should I have a company help me organize my debt and pay off these things? You know, they're companies that advertise on the radio and TV, infomercials and stuff. Listen, if you go with one of those companies, from a perspective of being able to do things later in life, borrowing more money, and I really don't want you to do that, but borrowing more money, it looks like you declared bankruptcy to them, okay? And it's going to cost you a lot of money without a guarantee that they're going to be able to accomplish what they say they will. They can't guarantee it. So I have a place for you to go that I think is very reputable in terms of getting some organization to stand behind you and help you work these things out, because you might need some more counseling on this. So the website is nfcc.org. NF, it stands for National Federation of Credit Counselors. I think that's what it stands for. nfcc.org. So they're going to give you some credit counseling. They'll talk to you about how to proceed forward. But I really think anything a company can do, you can do it yourself. And you really need to attack it yourself. It might just be, let me call the credit card company and just ask them to just, I want to, you know, I'm trying to work this out. Can you just cut me off altogether? Stop the interest payments, please. Stop the interest building up. And let me just pay you guys off. See what they say. If they say no, call back at a different time and get somebody else. Amen. No, I'm serious. Talk to me.
Brother, while you're mentioning about little things people can do, if a person, you or a loved one has child support debt, arrears, and your situation has changed in the time since you got the child support order, a very wise thing to do would go back to court and let the court know of your change in finances and ask for a modification.
We'll
And-
receive that. Thank you. We'll receive that. That's a good word.
And also for the bankruptcy, if you sometimes, some places you can't get out of the tickets, but you can do a Chapter 7, like you said. And if your money is not right, you can, and you qualify, you can get fee waivers in all of those courts.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is ask your creditors for some love. And the worst thing they can tell you will not change your current situation. I was trying to refinance my home for the longest time, and everybody kept saying no. They just kept saying no. I just wanted a better interest rate. Everybody kept saying no. One day, somebody said yes. I love when people say yes to me. The best things happen in my life after somebody says yes. But I let people, people just kept saying no. But I just stayed with it, making phone calls to different people that loan money. And one person said, sure. I asked for a loan about 8 years later, and they said no. But, but they said, we remember you. So they didn't say yes every time, but you don't want to give up with this. You don't want to give up with this. So I believe that if you have a desire to get out of debt, not just you all here, but anybody listening, if you have a desire to get out of debt, number one, you got to stop going into debt. I'm not the guy to tell you to cut up your credit cards and all this and that, but I am the guy to tell you to quit using them. I'm the guy that tells you quit carrying them around. Maybe you need to take a Ziploc bag, put some water in it, put the credit cards in it, put it in your freezer, freeze them, and whenever you want to go use them, now you got some time to think about these things while they unthaw. And don't cheat yourself by throwing it in the microwave, because you'll mess up your microwave.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, what do you think about these three things? These are some things that I did. For my student loan debt, I became disabled, and they wiped out my debt completely. Within 3 years, I couldn't work a job, but I could make a certain amount of money. And after the 3 years, then the debt is wiped clean. So
that's a strategy that you have the option. I mean, I gave you two where one took you 25 years, another took you 20 years, third one took you 10 years. But I really don't think you want to stick around. Now, you said 3 years, but that's 3 years without the ability to go and work. Even if you wanted to, you're not allowed to.
Well,
So I'm just saying.
You're allowed to make a certain amount of money, but
That's somebody limiting how much money you make. I'm just saying, you don't these repayment options for student loans, if you have the ability to wipe them out sooner, don't wait 25 years. If you're okay at 3 years, that's cool with me. I'm not telling you what to do. So that's what I think about that. But for everybody's sake, you don't want to wait 25 and 20 and 10 years. Now, I do have one person, one real story. Guy went to USC. He graduated before me, lives in our community. His father is a wealthy pastor, at the time was. And he refused to pay for his son going to USC. Refused to pay the bill. So the student went to USC, and he said, this is just him talking to me, he said, I come from a wealthy family, this and that. My dad's not paying it. So he said, listen, you're not going to see me for the next 5 years. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to a foreign country, and I'm going to do some community work over there. And when I come back, I'm not going to have any student loan debt. That's what he told me. And sure enough, he got back in town. But people will do things to get rid of debt if you want to. You've got another option, sir.
for credit cards, switch to a lower APR rate, and then some of them right now you don't have to pay until like a year later, so then you can wipe off that debt within that period.
Yeah, if you want to play the game of transferring balances, that is a strategy. However, you got to be careful, okay? Once you transfer a balance to a new card, usually in the fine print, it basically leads me to say this to everyone. Never, ever use that credit card again.
Right.
And you got to pay it off within that 1 year time frame because what the rate jumps to is astronomical after the fact. But here's what happens. If you transfer your balance to a new card and they say no payments or no interest bills up for the next year or 2 years, if you then if you charge something on that card, any payment you make does not go to pay for the new stuff you bought. It goes to repay the stuff that's not any interest building on it first. That's in the fine print. So never use that card again if you do that. Okay?
And then for collection agencies, you can do a payout, and they will lower the amount that you owe.
So collection agencies, that's a good topic. I don't know if you guys get those phone calls. I get those phone calls. And I'm like, who's this? You know. No, I'm serious. I have family. We go over their house or whatever. We don't answer the phone. Nobody answers the phones. Y'all know what that's about. And you get the readout now, so you know who's calling you. But I'm telling you, so with a collection agency, if you decide to work out a deal with the collection agent to pay off anything, so we're learning on these points. If you decide to work out some deal with them, if they tell you over the phone, if you send us $1,000, we'll forgive all the rest of the debt you owe us, the $5,000 you owe us. Do not send them the money until they send you that offer in writing. You need it in writing. Whatever they say on the phone doesn't matter. You need it in writing. And even still, you do not write them a check. You do not give them your bank account information. You send them a cashier's check or a money order. You do not give any collection agency, and not every collection agency is bad, by the way. Some are they follow the law and everything. But you do not ever, ever, ever write them a personal check. You never give them your bank account information. You always pay with a cashier's check or a money order after you get the offer or that deal they made with you in writing. After. So that's what I have to say on collection agencies. So here's a word of caution to you, because some of you all in this room are in a position that you can help take care of family members' debts. Don't do it. That's all I can say. Don't do it. If that person does not live with you and you don't get to see what they do in their daily habits, don't do it. Sometimes people don't appreciate, they don't know how to appreciate your generosity, your kindness, your love. If anybody asks you to co-sign a loan for them, don't do it. The best thing to do when it comes to co-signing loans, just say no to the person. It is better for you to buy the car or whatever it is that they needed the loan co-sign for, put it all in your name, and you be responsible for the payments, have that person pay you and you pay the people. Because that way, when they don't pay you, you still know you got to make that payment. But when you co-sign, you don't find out that they haven't been making the payments till long after the fact, and now your credit's ruined. This is the very first time I've mentioned your credit, because I really haven't cared about your credit in all of this. I just care about you getting out of debt. The only thing a good credit score does is help you go into debt faster. No, I'm telling you. The only thing a good credit score does is help you go into debt faster. And you don't even need, if you've got a good credit score, people will loan you money just based on your word. So that was the first time I said anything about credit, okay? Your credit, mentioning your credit score. So here's a word of caution also. Sometimes we get in such a financial jam, you should never, ever go to a payday loan place or a title loan place. I don't care how bad the situation is. let your pet die before you go to a title loan place, take out some money on your car to help save your pet's life at the veterinary place. Let them die. And hey, PETA loves me. By the mere fact that you have a pet, PETA don't like you. But I'm just telling you, let the pet die. A title loan place would say this: we'll give you $2,500. The interest rate will be 1,700%. You can pay us back whenever you want. It's a bad deal no matter what. Nothing is so bad that your car breaks down, you take the bus to work. Splurge, call Uber. Once a week. I got a buddy like that. Seriously, his car, totally wasted. And he takes the bus to church. He takes the bus to work. When he's hanging out with his friends or his date night, he'll splurge and call Uber. Or he'll splurge and rent a car. But for him, he's trying to get out of debt, and it's cheaper than him going more into debt. So I'm just saying, you've got to do these drastic things to make it work. But you can't be afraid to do things like that. I've never taken the bus to work where I currently work out in Orange County now. But believe me, I know how to do it. I know the route. I mapped it out. Because driving the 1998 Toyota Camry, you know, sometimes I wasn't sure we were going to make it. I finally got rid of the car at 300,000 miles. So, you know, it popped the cylinder coming back from work one late night at 10 p.m. at night. Popped the cylinder. That was it. Called AAA. They took me home, took the car somewhere else. But guess what? Even for my wife, she said, hey, I was parked in my wife's car. It was my day to drive her car here to church. She brought mine. I could not get her car started in the parking lot here on church grounds one Sunday. And so I called AAA. I had them tow it around the corner just to get off the church grounds. But that was the end of that car. And so it's time to buy a new car. Now, I was planning on needing to buy 3 new cars that year. And my wife knew that. So she said, you know, I really like an SUV. I said, well, that's fine. I said, just tell me what kind of car you want, and we'll get it. But it cannot be brand new. It must be at least 3 years old. And she knew we might have to pay for 3 new cars that year. And we were trying to save up money for a down payment on a house. So that year, we replaced her car first. She bought a 3-year-old SUV that she currently drives. Then the next car was my car. Popped that cylinder. That was in November. And so I bought it was a 2-year-old, bought another Toyota Camry. All right. Takes a lick and keeps on ticking. But it was a used car, okay? Now, and then the 3rd car hit the following February. That was it. So I bought my mother the same Toyota Camry I bought. Same color and everything. We can't even tell the cars apart except for our license plates. And then my other mother needed her tires replaced on her car. Now, my other mother, oh, man, she's a baller, okay? She drives like a Chrysler 300 or something like that. 17-inch rims. I was like, why does she have 17-inch rims? So I got that phone call, because, see, I take care of my mothers. And so took it to Midas. Midas, how much is this? And he said, yeah, okay. Yeah, $500 a tire. And we got to special order them. So I said, that car's going to last her the rest of her life. And you know what? She treats it like it, so that's fine. But I'm just saying. But praise the Lord, we had the money to do it. But I'm just telling you, we did not buy new cars. We repaired our cars over the years because it was the cheaper option. We drove them till we couldn't drive them anymore. We didn't want to go into debt. We wanted to buy a house. You got all these things on your list. Oh, and that year was family reunion. We wanted to go to the family. My wife wanted to go to the family reunion. So we wanted to go to the family reunion. That came up too. and we don't get on airplanes. I have to go the best class on the plane. That's just me. So we have all that going on. Even now, things pop up. If you want to buy a house, you want to own a house, yeah, but guess what comes with that? You got bills, bills, and bills that come with that. Things need repairs. You got to take care. You can put it on a credit card if you want, or you can just let it sit there until you can pay for it with cash. I'm serious. You prioritize stuff. My wife and I, we bought a new home finally, and I said, just make a list of things that need to be taken care of or that we need, and prioritize. Just move stuff around in the proper order. We just go one at a time. One at a time. That list is a long list, and all we do is one at a time. One at a time. I guarantee my wife gets some things, because she prioritized it, not me. There's some things she prioritized over stuff I really would like. But if I told her to prioritize it, why? She makes it a home. I just sleep there. I like coming home, going to sleep. So anyway, I trust you've gotten something out of today. You guys glad you came today? All right. I'll stop there before I tell all your business. All right. Well, praise God. Well, listen, if you have any other questions, we're going to stop the CD there, but I will take one-on-one Q&A until the last person leaves, but you're going to have to wait your turn, okay?